a quick safe start, an icebreaker session just for us to loosen up a little bit, and then the opening address, the introduction of our panelists, then the main discussion of the theme. And then there will be a Q&A session of the Society of Petroleum Engineers, Ghana session. And on their behalf, I extend a heartfelt welcome to you all. We appreciate you taking time off your busy schedule to join it for today's program. And the topic for discussion is From Policy to Practice, the Cylinder Recirculation Model Roadmap, which is the short form for the CRM indicated on the flyer as shown. So that's the Cylinder Recirculation Model Roadmap and Ghana's path to safe, affordable energy for all. We are so privileged to have these seasoned speakers for the discussion. That's Mr. Obed Crane Boache, the head of gas commercial regulation at National Petroleum Authority, and Associate Professor Richard Amorin, the SPE Ghana Session Chair. Before we kickstart, let us kindly take note of these few rules. Kindly keep your microphones muted. You'll be permitted to speak when the time is right. Please use the raise hand icon if you have any questions, and you'll be asked to speak. All questions, contributions, and suggestions can be made in the chat room. And then also in the course of the discussion, you can also let us know how you feel by using any of the icons at the reaction indicator, which is found at the bottom of the Zoom page. Thank you. All right. The next on our agenda is SPE Safe Start. SPE Safe Start highlights safety moments to help us keep alert on safety issues. Now, majority of us are currently listening from our workplaces or even from the comfort of our homes. And we might definitely be seated. So here are some safety tips to take along the way. Let us endeavor to keep the right sitting posture. An example of a correct sitting posture is what has been illustrated on the screen at the right-hand side. Also, make sure you take regular breaks in between the course of the day. Now, do not take shortcuts on procedures, especially if you are being given a task to handle. It is always right to follow the SOP, the standard operating procedure required of you. Also, be aware of your surroundings so that you be alert for any danger that may show up. All right. Kindly get ready for the interesting icebreaker challenge that will be handled by Kelvin Ariapo. Kelvin is the YP lecture series lead. Kelvin, kindly take over. You have the permission to do that.
Thank you very much, Ifwa, and good afternoon to everyone. And so we'll have a quick icebreaker. The questions are mainly based on our discussion today. So I'll put a link in the chat for us to join the quiz, and then we can take it from there. So the link has been put in the chat. We just click to join, and then we'll quickly go through the quiz. I'll share my screen so that we can see. So at the moment, no one has joined. So you can find the link in the chat. Oh, sorry. So,
Kindly share the link, please.
oh, okay. Sorry. All right. So the link has been shared. Okay. So so far we have 5 people. When we get to 10, and we can begin the quiz. So two more people. And kindly use your first name so that we can easily identify you, if that's okay. All right, one more person and then we can start. Okay. So most of the questions are multiple choice and you have 20 seconds for each question. All right, so all the best to all of us and here we go. We have 7 responses. All right, so let's skip to the next question. I think K is in the lead. All right. Okay, let's move on to question 3. All right, so you have to remember it's not just about answering the question correctly, but who answers fast. So yeah, it's a quick one. All right, I think if what gave us the answer to this at the start, so this was an easy one. Question 5. All right, everyone got this right. Question 6. Okay, 4 more questions. Question 7. Okay, question 8. All right, 2 more questions. So let's be quick on these ones. And there was a split in the answers. All right, now to the final question. Here we go. Okay, so we're at the end. So now we can see who won. So in third place was OK. Second place was K. And Alo Danny had the highest score. So congratulations to you. And thank you all for participating. Enjoy the rest of the webinar. If we're back to you.
Okay, Kelvin. Kelvin, thank you for leading us with this quiz. It was very competitive. Well, at this point, I would like to invite the YP committee chairperson for the opening address, Mr. Yao Frempong Kodia Sapon. Please, over to you.
All right. Thank you very much. Can I be heard?
Yes, you can.
All right, sure. Good afternoon, distinguished participants, professionals, and members of the SP community. On behalf of SP Ghana, I warmly welcome you to this month's and the inaugural Energy Pulse Digest Insight session, which is just going to be an offshoot of what we already published, which is the Energy Pulse Digest. Our purpose is simple: to go beyond the headlines, to have conversations that summarize or give us better perspectives on whatever we have discussed in the digest, in the hope that we can influence policy and industry decisions somehow. Today's theme reflects exactly why the platform exists. Following the tragic LPG disaster in 2017, Ghana made a bold decision on policy regarding LPG. The National LPG Promotion Policy directed a shift to the CRM as we know it, a safety-driven reform designed to eliminate unsafe household refilling and expand access to clean cooking fuel. But as we all know, policy is just the beginning. Impact is delivered in implementation. Therefore, infrastructure, institutions, financing, sustainable financing models, operational discipline, and public trust are important. This session is therefore not about restating what policy says, but it's about asking the hard questions, more important questions such as where do we move CRM from its intent to nationwide practice? How do we balance safety, affordability, and access without creating further inefficiencies? What lessons must we learn to ensure that LPG becomes the fuel that we know it can be for our cooking purposes? That is the value of the Energy Pulse Digest Insights. We will slow down the conversation and interrogate the right aspects of the question and connect policy to real life or real world outcomes. As professionals and students in the energy space, that is our responsibility. We must understand not just what decisions are made or why they are made. We must understand how they can succeed or why they will fail. Because indeed, in the future or even soon, sooner than we think, we will be the ones in positions to design, operate, and create systems for energy policy going forward. So I encourage everyone here to actively engage, ask questions that really baffle your mind, challenge any thought that you think does not lie well with you. And I know at the end of the session, with our established speakers, Mr. Obed Crane and Associate Professor Richard Amorin, we will leave here more informed. And I want to officially welcome you again to this particular Energy Pulse Digest Insights. I know we'll move from policy to practice once we leave here. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kodia Sapon. That was enlightening. And you've reminded us the reason why we should even be very attentive for this webinar. Thank you very much. All right. Now, it's time to dive into the highlight of today's program. We are so privileged to have with us certain key industry leaders for today's discussion on the energy pulse. We have with us Mr. Obed Crane-Boakye. Mr. Obed Crane-Boakye is an accomplished energy professional with over 13 years of experience in Ghana's energy sector, specializing in the downstream petroleum industry. He possesses deep expertise in policy formulation, regulatory strategy, and stakeholder engagement. Mr. Obed has played a key role in the development and implementation of major national energy policies and frameworks, including the National LPG Promotion Policy, the Energy Policy, the Petroleum Hub Master Plan, and Ghana's Energy Transition Framework. He has spearheaded targeted LPG promotion initiatives across diverse communities to enhance access and drive behavioral change during his time as Ghana's Ministry of Energy. Currently, Mr. Obed serves as the head of gas commercial regulation at the National Petroleum Authority, Ghana's downstream petroleum regulatory body. He leads initiatives that promote and regulate the use of liquefied petroleum gas for domestic and commercial applications. His leadership is driving the transition from traditional distribution model to the cylinder recirculation model, aimed at improving safety, accessibility, and environmental sustainability. He is also at the forefront of introducing compressed natural gas, CNG, as a viable alternative fuel for transportation in Ghana. Mr. Obed holds a bachelor's degree in information technology from Valley View University in Accra, Ghana, and a master's degree in information technology for the oil and gas industry from Robert Gordon University in Aberdeen, United Kingdom. Beyond his professional achievements, Mr. Obed is a dedicated family man, happily married, and a proud father of 3 wonderful children. Mr. Obed, we welcome you to today's program.
Thank you, Efua. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. We also have Associate Professor Richard Amorin, the SPE Ghana Session Chair. Mr. Richard Amorin is an Associate Professor at the Department of Petroleum and Natural Gas Engineering at the University of Mines and Technology, UMAT. He is also the current Section Chair of the SPE Ghana Session. He has close to 15 years of community service, teaching and research experiences in the field of petroleum and natural gas engineering. His research focuses on drilling optimization, oil and gas gathering, transportation, storage and use, and health, safety, and environment. He has 53 technical papers to his credit. He is a cohort of the 2033 Africa Science Leadership Program, Future Africa. He is a recipient of the Society of Petroleum Engineers, SPE 2019 Africa Regional Distinguished Achievement Award for Petroleum Engineering Faculty, and also the 2023 and 2024 SPE Ghana Outstanding Faculty Member of the Year. He is an international volunteer for SPE and has also served on many committees at several local, national, and international levels. He is a reviewer for many international journals and was also an external examiner for one of the public universities in Ghana. He is a member of many international organizations, including the Society of Petroleum Engineers, the African Union Network of Science, and the International Association of Engineers. Beneficiary, EU-funded LNG net training courses on decarbonization, gases and LNG Ghana Rep, Directors of African Petroleum Producers Organization, APPO, Oil and Gas Training Institute. He is a registered engineer with the Ghana Institute of Engineering and Technology. He also has a very good knowledge and field experience in cadastral and engineering, topographic and leveling surveys. Professor Amorin, you are welcome.
Thank you very much, Ifua. Thank you so much.
Yes, we are so privileged to have both of you here with us. Your professional profile is very encouraging, and we aspire to be like you in future. Okay, in order for us to understand the concept of the theme, which is from policy to practice, the CRM, which stands for Cylinder Recirculation Model, Roadmap and Ghana's Path to Safe, Affordable and Energy for All. I would like to go over the synopsis, just a brief one. Kindly bear with me. The LPG cylinder recirculation model in Ghana is a safety-driven distribution system where consumers exchange empty LPG cylinders for pre-filled, safety-checked ones at designated exchange points, eliminating the need to own cylinders. This centralized refilling approach aims to reduce accidents linked to household refilling and improve overall safety standards, which helps mitigate accidents like the 2017 atomic junction gas explosion. The government mandates registrating users with national ID to facilitate traceability and organized distribution. Okay, having this in mind, we would like to dive into our opening questions for the panelists. Professor Amorin, can you please help us with this question? The cylinder recirculation model represents a major policy reform aimed at safety and accessibility. From your perspective, how effective has the CRM moved from policy formulation to practical implementation on the ground?
Yeah, thank you very much once again for having me, and thank you for the question. I think way back somewhere 2013, Selbert and his team, I know they started looking at this policy that came into being somewhere after the atomic gas station explosion. The policy is a very good one. By all standard, it's very good. I guess, as rightly stated from the synopsis or the abstract that you read, I think the main emphasis is to ensure that safety is assured across the entire value chain. But in terms of penetration, I would say it has been a gradual process. It's not that aggressive as we want to see it. And I think that is something that I know the authority is working towards, that to make it more aggressive, to reach the broader consumers. I know it's now piloted at very few locations across. So we have Takoradi, I think I saw one or two there. Kumasi as well, then Accra. So it's just some selected areas that you see it being rolled out, but to the broader, should I say, national coverage, we are not yet there. But I can say that, yeah, the penetration has started, but not very aggressive.
Okay, that has been rightly said, because indeed, some people, I guess this is the first time hearing of this. Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Obed, can you please share some light on this for us?
All right. So thank you for the kind introduction and the question. First of all, I would like to thank the distinguished leadership of the SPE Ghana, chaired by Prof, the YP chair, and Daniel for putting this together. It's a privilege to be on this great platform that allows us to reach the entire petroleum engineering community. And so I'm grateful for this opportunity. So as Prof said, the idea for introducing the CRM started way back in 2013. At the time, the Ministry of Energy was piloting the Rural LPG Promotion Program, where we were distributing cylinders and stoves in rural communities. But then we realized, although we provided cylinders and stoves, we didn't have places to refill these cylinders. The distances were quite far. And so we looked around and then we identified the CRM to be an efficient approach, or less costly approach of bringing gas to such areas. And so we went to Cote d'Ivoire at that time to study what they were doing. Cote d'Ivoire has been doing it over the years. And then we came back to Ghana and then started preparing the policy. But then as the saying has gone so far, the atomic incident in the year 2017 sort of gave the whole process the vigor it needed. And so when the atomic explosion happened, Cabinet requested for the policy, which was then submitted. We gained approval, and since then, implementation has been, ongoing. And as Prof again rightly noted, the implementation has been slow. Between 2017, when it was approved, and 2019, we worked on the various regulations and the various market structure and the legal framework required. In 2019, we did a pilot. We did a pilot implementation in 6 districts across the country. So that was the actual pilot. After the pilot, we realized that we needed the bottling plants in place before we can start full implementation. And so we needed to wait till the bottling plants were ready. Fast forward to 2023, the first bottling plants were ready. Although there was one, we didn't want one bottling plant to capture the entire market. So we had to allow other bottling plants to come on stream. So by 2023, we had about 3 bottling plants ready to go. And so since 2023, we announced that we were starting the CRM. And then since then, we have allowed the various service providers to put the various infrastructure across. And so since 2024, April 2024, that was when we started seeing some of the exchange points across the country. And this is not a phase 1 or a pilot phase. This is the main phase, in that we are not starting from Accra to go to Kumasi to go to other places. We are receiving applications. Our regional offices are receiving applications for cylinder exchange points, cylinder distribution outlets across the country. But then, of course, because you have the bottling plants here in Accra, Otema, and Kumasi, it is only natural that you begin to see the exchange points here in these areas than in other places. But there are places like Doma, there are places in certain parts of the country that indeed the cylinder exchange points have been sent, and they started exchanging cylinders in those places already. And so in this regard, I can say, yes, we have finally moved from policy to implementation. But as I mentioned, the process has been slow. We are hopeful next year we'll gain more momentum, and then we'll begin to see the exchange points everywhere across the country.
All right, thank you, Mr. Boache. Based on what you said, that you are receiving several applications in your offices, that means people are quite interested, and we hope this would skyrocket in the future. All right, now let us look at the safety and standardization side. Mr. Crane Boache, can you please take this for us? One of the key drivers of the CRM was safety. What measurable progress have we seen in reducing LPG-related accidents since the model's rollout? And what more needs to be done to strengthen compliance and monitoring?
All right, so it's important to state that in approving the policy, in approving the promotion policy, Cabinet issued certain directives to the NPA to even improve the existing model so that we curb the occurrences of accidents in the industry. And so we improved the safety compliance in the industry even before the rollout of the CRM. For instance, the approach to discharge of LPG at refilling station. Previously, the tank that brings, or the BRV that brings the LPG, its facility was used in pumping the LPG into the tank at the station. Currently, there are facilities at the station that are able to receive the facility without the vehicle pumping. This has reduced the incidents that are related, for instance, with regards to discharge of products at the station. There are several other regulations we put in place to even improve the existing system. Regarding CRM, it is a bit very early to ascertain the actual impact in terms of reducing these incidents, because ideally, we wanted to transition the refilling stations to the cylinder depots or cylinder distribution outlets and the cylinder exchange points. But that has not happened yet. But however, there are certain incidents or accidents that also occur with regards to the use of LPG. The one that happens in our homes. A shocking revelation is that out of the 35,000 cylinders that consumers have exchanged for the branded new ones, about 17,700 of them, constituting 49.4%, have been rendered obsolete by the Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company, which is assessing these cylinders. This means that there are time bombs sitting in people's homes. Most of the cylinders sitting in people's homes are not safe to use. In fact, the pictures that you showed, the pictures that I sent, that you showed, are the nature of cylinders that people are using in their homes. And so in that regard, we believe we are taking a lot of these, like I said, time bombs sitting in people's homes, accidents that are waiting to happen, at least from people's homes in that regard. For the regulatory safety issues, I believe once we begin to see more exchange points and once we phase out the old refilling stations, that is also going to happen. So in terms of compliance and monitoring, we will continue to enforce the regulations for the existing service providers, but for the CRM, as we go on, there are guidelines for that as well. We are going to make sure that the service providers follow the guidelines and the regulations.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Obed. Indeed, these are time bombs sitting at people's homes, and we hope going forward, the CRM will take much deeper rollouts as more than we see now, actually. Okay. Professor Amorin, can you please take this question? Now, despite safety gains, affordability remains a major obstacle, particularly for low-income households. How can Ghana reconcile safety and cost efficiency under the CRM framework? Hello,
Yeah,
Professor.
thank you very
Okay.
much. I believe that, well, it's also heartwarming to hear NPA is putting in measures to ensure that we have the similar size cylinders to be rolled out as well, so people can easily afford, no matter the amount they have in their pockets. However, I think because we import majority of the LPG into the country, which comes with associated charges, margins, and the rest, importation charges. Though I am also aware that NPO was able to make sure they bring all the various stakeholders together instead of them going out to buy as individuals, like they buy in bulk, so it reduces the overall charges. I believe that we can also source most of the LPG internally. Currently, we do about 34% production to support the local market. Ghana Gas, I believe that if we're able to relook at our LPG extraction technology, instead of using the JT valve, we can use stable expander, and that would help at least produce more LPG than we are doing currently. And also with the isopentane, if we can go a step further to crack that, we can get easily LPG and methane out of that, and that would also help improve the local production. And in that case, at least we can have a means to, if we have to subsidize, if that's what government want to do, then it will be more affordable. It will also be always available because we are in control. We produce it locally. So I think we can do that to also try to reduce the cost of the LPG so that people can easily afford it.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your submission, Professor Amorin. Now, based on what he said, that readiness, how ready is Ghana to roll out this policy? And that currently Ghana handles about 34% of LPG production. Now, how ready do you think Ghana's infrastructure for nationwide rollout is? And what critical bottlenecks still exists considering the CRM?
Yeah, thank you very much. Again, it all boils down to infrastructure, more of investment. However, one thing that I would want to say is, let me say the traditional suppliers or those in the industry already, they have to all come on board. They need to really embrace the new model. And once we have them all coming on board and supporting government in that aspect, I think that it will not call for so much infrastructure, let me say, involvement again, because they have certain structures put in place already. It's just about government reviewing and trying to maybe negotiate with them if they have to upgrade certain things, or if we all agree that yes, their points will only be for distribution, then again, we just have to see where exactly do we put in the bottling plants, and which shouldn't cost us so much compared to trying to get all these spot points dotted across the nation. That is the most challenging aspect if you have to start from scratch. So we bring the existing value chain people on board. We engage them more to appreciate what government is trying to do so that they can also play a role. With the other aspects of financing, I believe that it's something that we all have to talk about and get more investors to invest. Government alone cannot do the work alone. This is a very big industry, and we need more hands on board. So it's about selling the ideas to the key people in the industry to embrace it. And once they embrace it, the investment will come by itself.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for that submission. Indeed, you have highlighted the bottlenecks that we're currently facing with this project. And Mr. Obed, do you think Ghana is really ready for this project? And considering the infrastructure involved, the nationwide rollout, do you think we are really ready for this project?
All right, thank you, Efua. So as I indicated earlier, when we did a pilot, we used the existing refilling stations to mimic the role of the bottling plants. And we learned a lot of lessons from that was not going to work. And so the bottling plants are now on stream. Currently, starting from the cylinders, the manufacturing of the cylinders, we have 4 cylinder manufacturing plants. Sigma is able to do about 2,000 cylinders per day. APEP can do 4,000 cylinders per day. Arario can do 6,000 cylinders per day. And GCMC, when operational, is able to also do about 3,000 cylinders per day. So in terms of cylinder production, cylinder manufacturing, we have capacity, adequate capacity to start as we roll out. And because of that, we have taken a policy stance that we want all the cylinders to be used under the CRM to be manufactured right here in Ghana, so that we can apply our own Ghana standards and then make sure that the cylinders that are being put on the market are ones that we know are of a certain standard and are safe to use. And so in terms of cylinder manufacturing, we have capacity. In terms of the bottling plants, again, 4 of them are ready and are operating now. Goil has a facility in Tema that is able to fill about 23,000 cylinders per day. And then another one in Kumasi for Goil is able to do over 7,600 per day. And then Blue Ocean has its bottling plant in Tema, is able to do 24,000 cylinders per day. And then the new gas bottling plant, the first train, is able to do 19,000 cylinders per day. As we speak, all of these bottling plants are operating on one shift, and they are not even doing the entire week. And so they are being underutilized. Their capacities alone, if they are operating 2 shifts, they are operating at full capacity, and we have the adequate distribution infrastructure, can serve majority of this country. And so for now, in the terms of bottling plant also, I can say we are ready to go. Even we have other applications as we speak. We have an application for a permit for construction of bottling plant, another bottling plant in Kumasi, and we have other areas under consideration as well. The challenge for me, or where the bottleneck sits, is the distribution. Again, the cylinder exchange point and then the cylinder distribution outlets are where we need more infrastructure. As Prof rightly indicated, it would have been ideal to use the existing infrastructure. So you have LPG marketing companies who have refilling stations in certain parts of the country. I think there are over 700 of them. So those would have been the lowest hanging fruits to use at the cylinder depots, and then continue from there to then now go into the rural areas and communities that are distant from these locations. But as we are all aware, we are still engaging these marketers to also properly understand the model, how it is going to expand their businesses. I think the challenge has been that people feel it is coming to kill their businesses. And so the work for us to do now is to make them understand that it is really going to improve their business, help them expand into an area where they could not afford a new refilling station. And so that for me is the area where more financing is needed to expand the distribution infrastructure. And also in the area of transportation, we need more vehicles to deliver most of these cylinders across the country. So I believe we are ready. We are ready at least with the needed infrastructure to roll out across the country.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Obed. We are still inquisitive in finding out more about your submission. When you were giving out your points, you said distribution is a challenge. What do you think governments can do about this policy reaching out to the rural areas? How do you think we can be able to overcome this challenge, considering the initial phase covering only Greater Accra and Ashanti region?
All right. So again, it comes to, engaging the existing service providers. As I mentioned, they know the LPG business in this country. And so we have to engage them more. I believe we have to provide incentives to some of them. For instance, we have considered waiving things like application fees in rural areas, peri-urban areas, but we have to go further than that. In countries where you've seen a huge jump in LPG access or LPG consumption in recent years, government has had to either come in to not just subsidize, but even support the private sector in, for instance, putting infrastructure across the country. And I believe that is a step we also have to take if we want to see that huge jump. And so I believe continuous engagement with the service providers, they are the ones going to push this access or going to expand distribution infrastructure, not government. So we have to engage them, make them understand what the model is really about, explain to them how it is going to expand their businesses, how it's going to make more money for them, so that they'll be willing to partner government in this regard. And then, of course, as I said, we have to give them the incentives and then the support that they need in doing this.
Okay, indeed. Engagement is important to sensitize people to understand what this whole policy is about. Thank you very much for your submission. At this point, we would have panelists specific questions. That is, I'll be directing my questions specifically to Mr. Obed Crane Boachi, considering his role at NPA. Professor Amorin Pardones will reach out to you shortly after we engage with him. Thank you. All right. So the Energy Pulse Digest, which is part of SP's initiative, recommends a dedicated CRM development fund to ensure predictable financing. Mr. Obed, do you think NPA is considering this option, that is the CRM development fund? And how will such a fund work in practice to sustain the model?
Yes, I think that is a great idea. So 2 years ago, whilst at the Ministry of Energy, we proposed the creation of what we call then the LPG for Development Fund. The idea was to aggregate funding from government, from oil companies, from carbon credits, other donor or development partner sources to fund the CRM and also specific government interventions. For instance, the ministry had this intervention where they were distributing stoves in rural areas so that if somebody goes to a cylinder exchange point and accesses a cylinder, they could use the stove and then just have a full solution. And so that proposal has been on the table for some while. I think it would be good to revisit that proposal. And then also I have to state that in the new NPA law that we are preparing, there is the creation of the Cylinder Investment Fund, which is being funded by the $80 per metric ton that Prof spoke about, the tender program that we do. It goes in there and it's for investment in cylinders. So for instance, now the cylinders, the time bombs that we showed, because the bottling plants are now procuring new cylinders and they are going to claim from this fund, we will be able to purchase more cylinders such that everybody can now exchange their cylinders. Okay, but then of course we need to go beyond just cylinders. The fund will speak about if the development fund, or as we call it, the LPG for development fund is available, we can then go further to even support infrastructure development. So for instance, if people want to go into certain rural areas, can government support such infrastructure? That is something that we can look at under such a fund. So in practice, that's what the model would actually seek to achieve. So it's a great idea. You review our own notes and then proceed, advance with that.
All right, Mr. Obe, thank you for your submission. I would encourage all our audience to please let us know how you feel. You can put in your questions, your suggestions at the chat room, and also any reaction that you feel with any submission that is made. We want to make this as engaging as possible. All right. Now we would like to consider, Mr. Obed, the pay-as-you-go and smaller cylinder model. So my question to you is that how is the NPA supporting the integration of innovative models like pay-as-you-go systems and smaller cylinder sizes to address affordability and access for low-income households?
All right, so the pay-as-you-go model has been seen to be an efficient way of allowing people to buy in smaller quantities. In fact, in Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania, and more of East Africa, it is well integrated in their distribution systems, and it really helps. Here in Ghana, we have had companies come and do pilots. I remember EnviroFit, the company that does the improved biomass stove, came around some time ago and they did a pilot in Adabraka, where they brought their meters, they partnered with an existing LPG marketing company, and then they placed the meters on these cylinders in people's homes where they could just purchase a small quantity and use. Then when it runs out, I mean, the meter stops the gas until they top up again. And so these models, we've had people test in Ghana, and when EnviroFit came, we supported them in undertaking this pilot. We've had other similar technologies. For instance, we have Enos Energy, which is an LPGMC here in Ghana, also operating an easy gas platform for LPG delivery. We are also receiving applications for other technologies like that people want to implement. A more interesting one recently has been what we call a gas wallet, where, for instance, a consumer can pay or save in a wallet that is dedicated purposely for the purchase of gas, so that they can purchase gas when they have the right amount. And so we often get most of these proposals for pay as you go and such financial services. In the past, the challenge with pay as you go had been the cost of the meter. It usually passed on to the consumer, so it makes the use of gas eventually expensive for the consumer. However, these days with advancements of technology, the cost of these technologies are becoming lower, and so we believe we will see more. But for me, I think all of this is important, or will be more evident when you have the CRM running fully. Then the CRM will be the vehicle, and then you can have these applications sitting on top, or these new technologies riding on the back of CRM to provide these services. With regards to smaller cylinders, we've already introduced the 3 kg as parts of the CRM approved cylinders. We've had proposals as we speak. I have a 1.5 kg or 1 kg cylinder sitting on my desk, a proposal from something happening in Kenya that wants to be introduced in Ghana. And when we receive this, we look at the viability of it in the Ghana market, the safety related issues, and then the economics of it, whether it makes sense to accept these sizes onto our market. Then, of course, we always look at what is best for the consumer, and then we'll make sure that the consumers can actually purchase LPG. And so, yes, these technologies are good, and whenever we receive proposals, we engage, we support, and then we actually call the service providers to partner with such institutions.
All right, thank you. From your submission, indeed, we have a lot to learn from other African countries that have been successful with this implementation so far. And your submission has even answered the next question. So I'll move on to this one. How does the NPA plan to strengthen compliance across the value chain, especially in ensuring that unlicensed filling points transition smoothly into the CRM ecosystem without compromising consumer access?
Yes, so I think the best way to do that is by strict enforcement of our regulations and guidelines. We have regulations and guidelines for bottling plants or bottling of cylinders. We have for transportation, storage and transportation of cylinders. And it is important that we increase our presence on the ground, because you're going to have a lot of these exchange points all across the country. We cannot be an armchair regulator. We have to be on the ground and make sure that the service providers follow these guidelines and regulations. We are currently working on a law or a regulation which we will submitting to Parliament soon for ratification. That law will provide proper legal backing for sanctions that will be related. So, for instance, if we are not supposed to fill a branded cylinder in an old refilling station and you go to do so, what is the penalty for you, the consumer, and for the service provider who knowingly fills that cylinder? Because then it means the cylinder does not go to the bottling plant to be checked for how do you call it, refurbishment and all of that. And so we are working on these regulations so that we can actually enforce the laws to make sure people actually follow the regulations. But we also have to even look at the existing stations, as I mentioned. We do that, but we try not to, marginalize anybody. We have to do all of this with caution so that people do not lose their investment and their livelihood, as Prof actually said initially. Because all of these service providers that are existing already, they obtained their permits before they constructed their facilities. And so we do not intend to shut down people based on regulatory mishaps here and there. And then, of course, we have to make sure that they are operating in a way and manner that is safe, and that does not cause any accidents in the industry.
All right. Thank you for your submission. Indeed, we need to bring everyone on board. And one way we can do that is by strict enforcement of the rules and regulations of this. Thank you so much, Mr. Obed. Now we would like to turn our attention to Professor Amorin. And considering your academia and research background, we would like to hear from you in terms of research and data insight. What do existing data and research reveal about household adoption patterns and behavioral barriers to LPG use, especially in rural Ghana?
Yeah, thank you for once again. Well, if you look at the Energy Commission's report for 2025, and that is reporting on data collected during the year 2024, it shows that yes, in terms of adoption of LPG as one of the main domestic fuel, it's a positive one. It's on the increase. So starting from 2010, with a penetration rate of about 18, as of 2024, it's now about 47. That is from the Energy Commission's 2025 report, which indicates that, yes, it means that we are doing so well in terms of LPG usage. Again, if you look at rural areas, adoption against urban, then that is where the challenge is. It's not too encouraging, especially once you move away from the main cities. That is quite on the lower side. And I believe that it's because of the perception of some of the people in the interlands. Yes, our mothers usually feel it's very unsafe to use LPG because of the several news they've heard about LPG explosion here, people getting burnt here and there. So we need to also start looking at that aspect very much. How to kind of uh, help them to overcome that fear that LPG usage is as safe as using charcoal or firewood. Charcoal firewood still happens to be the most dominant fuel use across these areas, and that is worrying. The long-term effect is that it's can affect their lungs. Too much exposure, inhaling of the smoke actually coming from these poor sources of fuel, which is the firewood and the charcoal, especially the firewood, can cause lung cancer. So we need to educate them very much as to the unsafe use of the continuous reliance on firewood and rather adopt something that is more friendly. Though we know LPG is quite sensitive in terms of handling. It can easily explode if not handled very well. We still have to get down there and encourage them to actually adopt that. So in terms of the national scale, we've been doing better. As at the 2021 report, we're doing like 36.7 about percent or 36.9 there about. But now it's showing that we are around 47 at the national level, which is quite encouraging. But again, we need to try to get to the interlands for them to also come on board.
All right, thank you, Sid. Thank you, Professor Amorim, for your submission.
Yes, I just want to maybe add something quickly. The fear has always been, how do we detect LPG if there are leakages around? And I'm happy to say that UMAT, we have developed 3 LPG smart devices that we can just plug anywhere. One we call the plug and play. Once you get a battery in there and you put it anywhere, it detects the concentration of LPG around. So if it's beyond the threshold that can start a fire, it would sound an alarm for you to know that the concentration of LPG in the atmosphere is very unsafe. And we have more advanced ones that is actually meant for kitchens that can even shut down your LPG flow and also send you alerts as well. Even when you are cooking something and it's burning, it's able to also detect the level of smoke in the kitchen, so that if it's beyond a certain threshold, it shuts down the flow of gas. So at least it safeguards the whole setup in terms of your kitchen or your household. So yeah, once we're able to convince the customers or the users that LPG is very safe with some of these gadgets, I believe that they would easily adopt them and will have a very wider coverage. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sid. We are looking out to have a wider coverage indeed, because LPG is a cleaner form of energy. And well, that sends us to our next question. Considering local manufacturing development, what do you think, Professor Amorim, in terms of, let's say, how can our research institutions and local manufacturers collaborate to improve material innovation, to reduce the costs, and then boost local fabrication capacity?
All right. Thank you once again. I believe that we have all the materials that we may need as a nation, either to provide produce aluminum-based LPG cylinders or steel-based LPG cylinders. Currently, we do more of steel-based, and we have so much manganese as well as bauxite. Manganese to help us get a lot of steel, but you realize that most of the things we mine naturally, we export them usually in their raw state. So we lose so much value out of that. we may want to focus our attention to producing most of these materials locally. We have scraps all over, good materials that we can turn into very good cylinder material or LPG cylinders. And it's all about collaboration. For academia, most often we are always looking for something to do. Once you give us a work, at least it points us to a certain focus, and we channel all our energy towards that. So if we're able to get that kind of synergy, government coming in, academia coming in, industry joining, at least that three tripartite kind of collaboration would really yield a very strong research innovation. We have a lot of fiber-based materials as well that we can use. So those who don't like the steel cylinders or the metal cylinders can also opt for the fiber ones. And we have the materials. It's all about engaging and agreeing on exactly what we want to do as a nation. And I believe that we should be able to move forward. We did a work which covered Takoradi, Takwa, and Asenkrigwa. And we realized that most of us, Sir Obed rightly said, most of the cylinders in our homes are time bombs. Some of the cylinders did not even have basic inscriptions on them to tell whether they are safe or not. And others were, to put it, literally to put, they have expired their usefulness, but they were still being circulated. So, and went further to engage them on their safety knowledge on the use of LPG, and you could see that it's way low. So with such kind of collaboration, we can help with a lot of these education, see or come to terms in terms of the gaps that exist, even at the consumer level. So what are the things that they don't really appreciate or they lack in terms of knowledge, safe use of LPG? And I believe that we should be able to team up to really propose solutions that will help with the safe use of the LPG. I just want to quickly mention that apart from the domestic levels, we also engage the auto gas people, those using the LPG to fuel their vehicles. And there is nothing to, they were done by, let me say, illegal garages. And it's not too safe as we speak, the way they were installed in some of the vehicles. And there's the cylinders, again, are too old, but there's nothing to check to be sure whether it's safe for use. So we can extend these collaboration in terms of research into all these areas to ensure that whatever is being put out there and the people are also consuming out there in terms of their knowledge handling, it's quite safe. So that is a little that maybe I want to say on this subject.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Professor Morin. Indeed, considering some of these cylinders, like you rightly said, certain old rusty cylinders are just time bombs, and policies like the CRM would ensure safety nationwide and reduce some of these disasters that we see. Thank you for the submission. And we would also like to hear from our audience. Kindly start putting your questions out there at the chat room. We'd like to hear from you, please. Professor Amorin, can you kindly help us answer this question? How can academia, through institutions like UMAT, help prepare the next generation of engineers and technicians to support the CRM ecosystem from safety inspection to plant operations?
Yeah, thank you once again for the question. Academia has always played vital role in preparing the next set of generation, and bringing the CRM policy on board is not going to be a challenge at all. We have been training people all this while for the industry. So again, it's all about collaboration. What exactly would the policymakers want us to do? So once we all agreed on exactly what needs to be done, then we can start training the engineers or technicians to take very specific roles. So I believe that this should not be a challenge at all. We just have to sit with the regulator or with the stakeholders. Exactly what are the key areas that you want people to be trained on? Is it plant operation? Is it a policy aspect that needs to be relooked at? Maybe to make it stronger. Is it about safety inspections? How to train people to go out there to inspect the things that are being done. Those we can always create models to handle that. So once we agree on exactly what needs to be done, academia is ever ready to assist in this matter.
All right, thank you, Professor Amorin, for your submission. We have some questions here at the chat room, but before we take these questions, I would like to hear from Mr. Obed. I'd like to hear from you, sir. Considering the roadmap ahead, if you had to define one make or break success factor for the CRM over the next 5 years, what would it be? Is it financing, infrastructure, regulation, or public acceptance?
Well, I think all the items you've listed are very key. All the items you've listed are very key. But I would go for public acceptance. I would go for acceptance, first of all, by industry. The people we want, or the people whose infrastructure we want to use in expanding the reach of LPG to all parts of the country. They have to accept the policy. They have to own the policy. They have to be part of it. And then secondly, the consumers or regional Ghanaians, and it is our role, as MPA in collaboration with research institutions, academic institutions, and other civil society organizations, in making people understand that, first of all, we need to use LPG, we need to switch from biomass, we need to let our mothers understand that, as Prof said, the smoke gives them a lot of ailments that they spend the rest of their life trying to cure. And so we need to make them understand they have to use LPG. We need to make them understand that the CRM is an efficient and less costly manner of bringing LPG closer to everybody. So for me, public acceptance, both service providers and consumers, is number one. But then also, as I mentioned earlier, distribution infrastructure is key. And so again, we need financing. We need financing and investment in the area of distribution infrastructure. And then of course, then us as MPA have to make sure that we enforce the law such that the public will have trust in the model, that they will be sure that if they are buying a cylinder or they are taking a cylinder from an exchange point, the right quantity of gas will be in the cylinder, that they will be assured that if they are taking a cylinder, bringing their cylinder that they may have taken care of. I remember in an engagement, one of the LPG marketing companies said something. He said, Mr. Kumi said, people see cylinders as assets that they bequeath to their loved ones. And so it is difficult for them to hand it in. But if a person hands in their cylinder, what guarantee do you give such a person that the cylinder that you are giving them, the branded one you are giving them, is of the same quality and that is not going to bring any accidents in their homes? It is on us to ensure that through regulations, we make sure that the public come to be rest assured that they are receiving an improved and quality service under the cylinder recirculation.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Obed, for your submission. Well, it's true. Public acceptance is one key thing we need for this policy. And we hope in the future, people do accept this particular one the government is rolling out. Okay. I would like you to take this question, Mr. Obed. This question is from Mr. Rudolph. He's asking that how is the NPA handling the unrest that follows the aggressive push of the CRM by the LPG transporters, that is the BRV drivers, in the existing model, who feel they are likely to lose their livelihoods as the new model takes away the transport of the commodity to filling stations?
All right. So we have engaged the transporters. The transporters mainly work with the LPG marketing companies. Actually, the marketing companies, the refilling stations that own the trucks. So most of these transporters work on behalf of the marketing companies. And that is why we are engaging the marketing companies to have distribution outlets. Now, the tankers you see are not going to become obsolete. I mentioned we have a bottling plant in Kumasi. How does LPG get to Kumasi? We move LPG in bulk from Tema to Kumasi. We have what we call the bulk consumers. For instance, schools, universities, hotels, and other institutions that use LPG in bulk, that have a tank installed at the premises. How do we serve these people? It is the BRVs that are going to serve these people. But then, although their activities will reduce in terms of quantities they send to refilling stations, remember, there's a new stream of transportation as well. That is cylinder transportation. So if an LPGMC now has, let's say, exchange points in rural areas, and that LPGMC attains a truck or gets a cylinder distribution truck, who is going to drive this truck? These same transporters. And so again, it is engagement. They raise these concerns, and we made it clear to them. I always tell LPG marketing companies that your number one business is to sell gas. The more volumes you sell, the more profit you make. And so if today you have one station that allows you to serve, let's say, the nucleus of a community, and you have the opportunity to go into the rural areas, put cages, and get more customers, I don't see how we don't want to take advantage of that opportunity. And so I believe it's more of engagements. And once we have assured them that the model will run side by side, they know now that there's no imminent danger to their business. And so we will allow them to operate the old model while we gradually introduce the cylinder exchange points until it gets to a time that they may choose or may elect to transition to the cylinder exchange points. And so we are still going to continue to engage them to make them understand more what the CRM seeks to achieve and the benefit they are going to get from the model.
All right, thank you, Mr. Obed. And I hope, Mr. Rudolph, your question has been answered and you are satisfied with it. All right, I move on to the next one from Leah Tang. I was hoping Professor Amorin will answer this question, but it's more in line with Mr. Obed. So, Mr. Obed, kindly take this one for us. Please, was the last LPG forum that was held a few weeks ago by one of the panelists felt CRM was not a good project because the business of the local stakeholders would go down. I want to ask, how will CRM not affect local stakeholders in a bad way, but rather boom their businesses? Well, it's similar to Mr. Rudolph's question, but Mr. Obed, can you please take it once again?
Yeah, I was here at the program. He didn't say, it's not a good project. I think he said he understands that the old model also has its advantages and could run along with the CRM. I think that was a submission from the representative from, I think, Bluish. So I quite remember the submission. However, as I indicated, for me, it is more about expanding their businesses. So the 40-something% you mentioned, Prof mentioned as a recent Energy Commission number, we have access to which the 50% or so more that do not have access to LPG. And per our research or per our experience, the reason why we don't have LPG in these areas is that, for instance, you have a village like Garutimpani where I went to distribute cylinders some time ago. For the businessman, it does not make sense to set up a refilling station because the cost is so high. And so all we are saying is that, yes, you have a filling station in Bogatanga. So why don't you go and put an exchange point in Garutimpani and the villages across, so that you can send cylinders without having to spend over 1 million Ghana cedis or so, setting up a filling station. That is what we are saying. And so they will continue to operate the old model, but now they have the chance to go into areas where they don't need 1 million cedis. A cage, how much is a cage? A cage is maybe 25,000 cedis. You can construct a cage and then go and put it in this location. You send a small truck, a small Kia Bongo, on a market day, they go and put 10 cylinders there so that people there can have access to LPG. And you can also make some additional margin. And so by so doing, I think you expand their businesses and give them the boom that you speak of, rather than closing their businesses. Nobody's shutting anybody's station down. And so I don't see how you can say we are going to shut down local businesses. If anything, we have policies like our local content regulations that actually protects a market like Ghana's petroleum downstream, where we are saying, for instance, when it comes to distribution of LPG, we don't want to allow any foreigners in that space. So it has to be Ghanaians. And so the existing service providers, like I said, they know the industry. It is on them to take the steps to actually capture these new areas where there's opportunity for them to expand. And so I hope by this I have answered your question. Let me just touch on the last one. Or should I touch on the last one?
Okay, you are permitted. Just 1 minute, please.
Oh no, I think the last one is for Prof, right? If you could
No, there's a follow-up question as well from Leah. There's a
okay.
follow-up question, yeah.
Okay.
Would you like me to read it out, or you
Yes,
want to
yes,
finish first?
please read it out. Yeah. Read it out.
Okay. Leah is asking, talking about safety, which is what CRM focuses on. Is NPA focused on both internal and external safety? That is from bottling plant to the exchange point and surroundings.
Yes, we are interested in safety in the entire value chain. Yes, starting from the bottling plants. I have been to the bottling plant. When we are filling the cylinders, it goes through several processes. When the cylinders come, if they are used cylinders, they decant them, they take them through pressure tests before it gets onto the carousel, before it goes through, a washer system, before they fill, they check for the quantity of gas in it, they check for leakages and everything before it comes back onto the market. When they finish filling it, they shrink wrap it to make sure that, it is well tested and everything. And so from the bottling plants, we make sure that the cylinders that are filled are safe to go to the market. The transportation, again, we have regulations for transportation of cylinders, where the cylinders will be held in a manner that we will not see cylinders falling on the road during their transportation. At the cylinder exchange points, we equally have certain regulations that the industry is going to follow, right all the way to the consumer. And so the safety precautions we are putting in place focuses on the entire value chain and not just at one part, the consumer part or the bottling plant.
All right, thank you, Mr. Obed. And I hope, Leah, your question was answered. The next one is coming from John, the next question to Professor Amorin. The question goes as, if you could be specific based on your test values, what amount or value of threshold can these detective devices give a prompt that a particular volume of concentrated gas is enough to catch fire?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. Before I come to that, let me say that the way we transport our cylinders back home usually is not the appropriate way. And because sometimes as the convenience, the means of transport, most of us may transport our cylinders back home, either in a public transport. So if it's not a truck or a taxi, and sometimes the space available dictates how you should transport your cylinders. Cylinders should most often be transported vertically, unless it's designed to be transported in the horizontal way. The more you vibrate the cylinders, it builds pressure. If temperature also increases, it causes the gas to expand. And naturally, the cylinders do have valves that tries to leak a bit of the gas so that at least it maintains the pressure in the cylinder. So typically, once you have concentrations hitting minimum, mostly, I want to just run it up. Minimum is 2%, maximum, let me run it to 10%. It means once you have a source of fire, so you have the source of fuel already, there is oxygen present in the atmosphere. Once there's a source of fire, you should expect that gas to catch fire. So the threshold that we set for our devices is not to hit the 2%. It's a bit lower than the 2%. So it keeps tracking the concentration of gas in the atmosphere gradually and begins to send warnings. Once the concentration, we've set various thresholds. But beyond a certain threshold, then definitely, if it's a very smart one, it should cut the flow and it shouldn't hit the 2% minimum. Once it hits that and there is presence of oxygen, enough oxygen miss, and also there is a source of fire, it can easily catch fire or explode. Let me just give a piece of advice again. I know it's also in the NPA's guidelines for storing LPG at home. By now, all cylinders should be stored outside your kitchen. The survey we did, we realized that over 60% are storing their cylinders in their kitchens with various reasons: theft case, convenience, and the rest. It's better to live safe than try to compromise to put yourself in danger. Then the cylinder should be caged outside and it should be under a shade, right? And on your hose, the gas hose, the pressure hose, you need to check the expiry date. It has expiry date, but we usually do not check until the tube is totally destroyed. So apart from the CSR trying to make sure most of these time bomb cylinders are out of the system, we also have to take care of the other parts. We also have to be responsible. Once we take possession of the cylinder filled with gas, we need to make sure we handle it safely. And that is where the education is very key. We need to be intentional with the education, how to safely handle the gas at home. And I guess once we're able to do that, then it will be a win-win affair. The issues of explosion happening at homes and the rest will be a thing of the past. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Professor Morin. Your last submission on cylinders being kept outside is a key point we won't forget, because some of us fall victims to that. Anyway, thank you so much, Mr. Obed and Professor Amorin. As we gradually bring the program to a close, I would like to appreciate you, who are key speakers for the discussion on the cylinder recirculation model. And though we were hoping to go on and on and on, we are bounded by time. However, we look forward to having you once again. We are extremely appreciative of your submission on today's topic. Kindly take note of the following announcement. I would encourage us all, especially all non-SPE members, to visit our website, www.spe.org, to register and join the SPE family. And also for the old members, I would encourage you to renew your membership by visiting the same website. Kindly bear in mind that the Ghana Biennial International Summit and Exhibition will come on next year. The main event will be from 20th to 21st May 2026 in Accra, Ghana. Kindly stay tuned and watch out on all our socials for updates to this particular program. And then we move on to the feedback survey. A link will be dropped in the chat room. I'll encourage you all to take part in the feedback survey so that we'll hear from you and know what we can do to improve on any future programs. Okay. Now we'll invite Madame Antoinette for the closing remark. Madame Antoinette is a maintenance engineer at Vivo Energy, which is also Shell Ghana. Madame Antoinette, if you are here, please take over.
Hello, please can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So on behalf of SPE Ghana, I would like to sincerely thank our distinguished guests, Mr. Obed and Professor Amorin, for their valuable insights on the CRM and Ghana's energy agenda. Our appreciation also goes to our moderator for expectedly guiding the section and to Mr. Yao Frimpong for the open section remarks. We thank all participants for their engagement and contribution, and as well as the organizing team for their hard work in making this webinar a successful one. Thank you for joining this, and we look forward to seeing you for our next event. Thank you. Bye.
All right, thank you, Madam Antoinette. And also coming from me, your moderator for today, Ifua Kuto Osafobediakon, I would like to say a huge thank you to everyone for joining us in today's program. To our resource persons, Mr. Obed Crane Boache and then Professor Richard Amorin. Thank you so much for taking out time off your busy schedule to share your expertise with us. I would like to acknowledge the organizers for the program, to everyone who asked the question, who listened, who joined in. We say thank you. We look forward to connecting with you soon and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Silbert. We are grateful for sharing your thoughts with us as well.